Welcome, everyone. Wareham Planning Board, Monday, December 11th, 2023. Also available via Zoom. We will get the meeting started with a roll call. Sherry Quirk?
Here.
Mike Baptiste?
Here.
Jane Gleason?
Here.
Sam Corbett? Here. Carl Schultz?
Here.
And Chair Mike LaKay is here. Full board. All right, let's do a little quick housekeeping here. Under preliminary business, item number 1 and item number 2, 7-20 and 9-20 Borrego Solar Systems, 27 Charge Pond Road, 150 Tohonet Road, have both requested continuance until January 8th of 2024.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
I spoke with our proposed, our expert, Milos Puchowski, today, and he has said that he would like for the applicants to provide a report on the applicable fire safety standards and regulations and their plan for compliance with it. And I think it would be efficient maybe for a letter to go to the applicant stating that, and I'd be happy to draft the guts of it if you would like me to. But I think that if he can get that, we can maintain hopefully maintain the schedule that we're on, although we've lost some time as the applicants have decided not, until very recently that they didn't want to fund this. So
Right.
we may be behind where we hope to be, but I'm hoping by getting this communication to the applicants that they can get him what he needs in order to perform this.
Okay, that sounds good. So
I'll get you something.
if you can draft that letter,
Sure.
that would be great. Ken, we can make sure the planning office gets that letter out once it's drafted.
Right.
Okay. I have my reservations that we're gonna make January 8th, to be honest. There's not a lot of time between now and then.
Yeah, well, and we have the holidays, so.
Right, that's, yeah, so, but we'll see what comes of it. So on the requested continuance for 7:20 and 9:20, entertain a motion to accept the request.
Second.
Motion by Sam Corbett, seconded by Jane Gleason. All in favor, Sherry Quirk,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jane,
Aye.
Sam,
Aye.
Carl?
Nay.
And the chair votes aye. 5-1-0. Okay, under continued public hearings, 12-22 Wareham, Mass 3 LLC, 91 and 101 Fairing Hill Road, has also requested a continuance to January 22nd, as I believe they are still in litigation with the Conservation Commission. Do I have a motion to accept their request?
So,
Can we have discussion?
Certainly.
There are several things on the agenda for that night. Do we have time to re-engage with Fearing Hill?
On the 22nd?
Yes, we're going to go over rules and regs, and I believe there were some solar projects continued to them.
I don't have anything listed for the 22nd.
Okay, well, please write down at least the rules and regs, because we should have a public hearing posted for that. Or, no, we don't have, that's a continued public hearing, so we're sort of okay with that. We don't have to post a new notice, but that was a continued public hearing for that night. And I thought there were several other projects we had continued to that date.
I know we had pushed some out till the 8th.
Okay, thank you.
Might be my other planner. That's the 23 with January at the end.
We've got N-Star, according to this.
Okay, as long as you, I thought there was more on the agenda than that.
Nope, you're right.
well,
Public
several,
hearing and on land use rules and regs and subdivision rules and regs. That's what we've got on that date so far.
Okay, I thought we had continued
But
some
there are a
project.
number of items tonight that have requested to be moved to that date.
No, but I thought
Yeah.
prior, okay, thank you.
Well, and
we had-
on this date matrix, we've got Eversource, or, yeah, N-Star, the movie theater, Doty Street. Doty Road.
I'll go back
Is it
and look at
Doty
my
Road?
notes. If I find anything, I'll send you a note.
Yeah, we don't have anything,
Just Eversource.
we don't have anything that we're fighting a time clock on, though. So if 22nd gets a little on the busy side, we'll just
You can push out.
push it out. So,
Okay.
okay, that's a good catch.
All right, so then you can move forward with motion, I think. So you had a motion, Sherry, I think was gonna.
Yeah, I'm just rethinking, with Ferring Hill's history of being tied up in court for the past several months, would it make sense to clog the 22nd up with that, or let's just move it to the next one?
Well, we have, they put in a request for the 22nd, so I think we have to add, leave it at that and then adjust
Well,
when it comes to that
no,
time.
we have to agree to it, right? It's a two-party system.
Yeah, it is.
They request, we agree, we
And
request, they
we
agree.
had passed a resolution that if they were gonna request continuances,
Somebody would be here.
they had to be here, because otherwise we can't resolve the very issue you're pointing at.
Yeah,
I agree.
okay.
So our only other choice then is to deny the application.
That's right.
So, I think the more civil thing would be, if we're concerned about the 22nd being clogged up, let's accept their request for continuance, but with the caveat that it gets pushed to the next meeting.
If we get more stuff that gets put on that night, yeah.
Yeah.
Because right now you said it's pretty light.
They're asking for the 8th, they're asking for the 8th. 370 County Road's just a blank ask to continue with no
It has to,
no
okay.
date. We can fix that.
We can fix that.
Okay. Yeah, so right now, it's strictly the 22nd, it's just them. So I think we'll be all right. So I guess my request for a motion would stand to accept the continuance request for 91 and 101 Ferring Hill Road to January 22nd of 2024.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Sam Corbett, seconded by Sherry Quirk. All in favor? Sherry?
Aye.
Mike? Jane?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Carl?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
Well, why don't we pick a date for them?
For who?
Yeah, I agree.
I mean,
We can do that.
we're gonna continue to,
Yeah, we might as well let's just do it now. Let's take number 4 out of order. Request to continue 370 County Road LLC preliminary subdivision, no date noted. Since the 22nd is already filling up.
Did their letter request a date certain and Sandra just missed it?
There may be a date in their request. Let's take a look.
I don't have anything to
Hang
back
on.
that up.
I'm just looking to see if it's there. Let's see, here's their letter. They requested January 8th in their
Yeah.
letter.
And January 8th is no longer going to be reasonable, because we've already got,
can't
Oak
be-
Street, we've got Bay Point, we've got the two Borrego projects.
Well, how do we, this is my problem with nobody being here.
Yep. So we're going to have to move it. Ken, is there an issue with us moving the date requested?
No.
Okay, so let's move it.
Okay.
The 22nd's booked, the 8th is booked by the projects prior to them. And actually, we did them a favor, because if we had done this in order, there was 2 more projects in front of them requesting the 8th, so they never would have got on anyway. So the second Monday in February, I mean,
12,
would be the 12th.
yeah.
So I would entertain a motion to accept the request with the caveat that the date requested is already booked to capacity, and that we move them out to the meeting of February 12th.
So moved.
Second?
I like it.
Don't everybody jump at once?
Second.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Sam Corbett, seconded by Mike Baptiste. All in favor? Sherry?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Carl?
Right thing to do.
I'm going to abstain.
Okay. And chair votes aye.
Mr. Chairman, I think there's a reason to do number 3 on the same date as well, too, because this is the same engineer on the projects. And one of the reasons why they wanted to change the date was so they could have both of their projects on at the same time. They're,
With one engineer?
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
that would make sense.
So I think you can move number 3, North Carver Road, to February 12th as well, too,
Okay, so,
even though they requested January 8th.
Right.
okay, so 18-23 Christie LLC, preliminary subdivision, 1-13 North Carver Road, request continuance to January 8th, 2024. Entertain a motion to approve the request with the understanding that the meeting be moved to February 12th of 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Sam Corbett, seconded by Mike Baptiste. All in favor? Sherry?
Aye.
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Carl?
Abstain.
And chair votes aye. Okay. 15-23 Sarah John Realty LLC, special permit for cluster development, Form C, and site plan review, Hidden Trails off County Road. Request to continue to January 8th. I'm gonna leave this one up to the board to decide whether we have the bandwidth for the 8th, or
So what's the total list of what we have?
right now, I've got Oak Street,
It's easy.
which should go pretty
Oh,
quickly.
It's not going to be easy.
Well, as far as complexity, no.
Okay.
As far as detail, yes, I agree with you.
Okay.
Bay Point, don't know what's going on with that.
He might
If Tim shows up,
Has he been invited to?
Both
if he's on the agenda.
Borregos, 7-20 and 9-20. So that's what we have so far for that night.
Sounds like a fair amount.
Yeah, I mean,
They're
if
four
Bay
difficult-
Point and both Borregos show up, then, yeah, that's a pretty full night.
Yeah.
And then this one here, I don't think is gonna be, you know, a 5-minute discussion. I think this is gonna take some time. But, I'll leave it up to
Yeah, I
the,
agree. It's not complicated, but it requires
there's detail,
detail.
yes. We can't push it off till the 22nd, that night's full.
The 12th is getting full now.
Yeah, all of a sudden, the nights are getting full.
Yeah, get rid of some of these.
I don't know, I mean, it'd be nice if somebody was here to speak to this, to Kyle's point, because now we're looking at the 26th of February. Or we could put it on with the 12th. We've got 370 County Road and 1-13 North Carver Road.
That's doable.
That sounds manageable.
Put it on
Yep.
the 12th. That sound reasonable?
So,
All right, so entertain a motion to accept the request for continuance for 15-23 Sarah John Realty LLC with the understanding that the January 8th meeting requested is filled to capacity and that we will move it to the meeting of February 12th. Do we have such motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion by Sam Corbett, seconded by Mike Baptiste. All in favor? Sherry?
Aye.
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Carl?
I'm going to abstain again, thank you.
And the chair votes aye.
Did all these requests come in writing?
Yes, they did.
They did?
Yes, they did.
Timely?
Timely, yes.
What's timely? It's kind of a subjective statement.
We've established that timely is before Thursday noon, multiple times.
Well, you changed it to Wednesday at one point, and
Yeah.
I made the motion for Thursday noon a
I-
long time ago.
Yes, and we voted on it.
I agree. I think that's minimum.
And I know some of these have come in well after that deadline.
Well, we have one letter that's dated, Jillian called, came in Sunday. At least that's the date on it.
Well, then I guess at that point,
And just to clarify, we did agree on that vote that if there was a personal or family emergency or
right, extenuating circumstances.
extenuating circumstances, but we also agreed that they should be here. And because we have Zoom, it's not onerous
Right.
to drop in, to just, so we can resolve these issues easily.
Yep, well, and get feedback from the applicant if we do schedule it out too far, is it causing them some kind of undue stress that, perhaps we could work out, but without the other side of the conversation, it makes it a little bit difficult.
Carl, how about if we had a motion for what to do with the continuances? They have to be here.
Did we
Not
get,
physically, but somebody to speak to it, Zoom.
I don't remember, did Attorney Bowen give us something on that? I don't remember. But,
We've gone both ways.
so
And
what
that's
I
a
would
bad
like,
thing.
we can make the motion, but what I would like to suggest is that we hold that discussion until we review the rules and regs, because I think we're making an attempt to address some of that.
Okay.
And we had some language in there, right, Ken?
Right, we do.
And actually, the not subcommittee made a recommendation that it had to be in 2 weeks in advance, not continuances, but materials. And there's just not enough time if we get it on Thursday,
I agree.
or to be ready to have an adequate hearing.
No, I agree.
Hydrologist was 100 pages or so,
Yeah,
and you couldn't read it just once.
no. It's like those
No.
potato chips, right?
Yeah.
Can't read it just once.
Just to get
All
the
right,
feeling.
but we could talk a little more on Wednesday, Ken, but I think we can try and resolve this in the rules and
Okay.
regs.
We have to be consistent.
Yes.
If they're not here or here or
Well,
Zoom,
and honestly, I think by not being here one way or another to talk to us about this, there's potential downside consequences for them, i.e. being scheduled out 8 weeks.
Or the only other option is that if we don't continue, we hold the hearing
right,
and
And deny it.
then
Yeah.
and
you
deny
do a
it.
couple of those, and I think the problem will be solved.
Yeah, but we can't just,
Yeah, I think that's,
we're getting draconian. We're
Right.
trying not to get draconian.
well, I think a couple of developers that lose 6 or 8 weeks' time because they weren't here to address questions concerning either a continuance or information, whatever that might be, you lose 8 weeks' time on a project, that kind of smarts.
We've talked about this, and if
It's
they
not-
can't just drop in on Zoom,
Yeah.
at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, we've made that,
I know, and people have. I don't understand.
Yeah.
I agree, Carl, let's look at the regs and make a decision and stick with it.
Okay, so much for the continuance requests. For discussion and possible vote, Tohonet Pond South subdivision, release of performance bond. Is there someone here to speak to that?
Good evening. Mike McVeigh from 80 Makepeace,
The-
158 Tyhana. So I appreciate the 2 weeks that you gave me to get as much as we could done. I tried,
Mr. Chair, through you to the applicant, thank you for the package you put together.
Yep.
Yeah.
And your presence.
of course. So yeah, I tried to use the 2 weeks as well as I could. I leaned on Bill at GAF to get an as-built done, and got it done, and included it in the packet, which I sent out on Thursday. I know that's not the most amount of time to give you, but I hope that's enough to gain your recommendation to release the bond. But for the record, it's Tyhona Pond North or Cran Landing. But
Not south.
right.
I'll have to reprimand Miss Sonia for the typo.
Well, it was 20 years ago. She wasn't even born then. Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Absolutely.
Through the chair to Mr. Cordiero, did you have a chance to look at the as-built plan, and do you have any comments?
For the record, Phil Cordero, Allen and Major Associates. We received the as-built plan Thursday afternoon. It came over from GIF. We looked at it briefly. I don't have any major comments. You know, it is complete. We do recognize that he put it together very quickly at the request that we made 2 weeks ago. We also recognize it was a low-impact development subdivision, so there's really not a whole lot to it. So I would say for purposes of this discussion, given everything in total, it's a complete as-built for our purposes and for our recommendation to you.
And it was stamped.
And it was stamped, yes.
That's a plus.
I will say, Mr. Madden, he reached out to me, he was quite responsive after the meeting 2 weeks ago through 80 Makepeace about getting the materials together quickly. And I will also say he was very, very cognizant and reticent about making sure the materials were provided to the board well in advance of this meeting, so it could have a real discussion. I just feel it's appropriate relative to what you just talked about to recognize when the system is working.
Thank you. And I'm not going to penalize this one applicant for that. Just one more question, Mr. Chairman, through you to either the applicant or Mr. Cordero. What kind of statement do we want to make about the inspection reports over the 20 years? Were you able to find any record of inspection reports, or I don't think you found any, right, Ken? Or-
Just the final one that Mr. Cordero provided, and also I think it was a site visit number 2.
Yeah, right, we didn't find anything historic, so we can only speak to the eyes that we
Right,
put
right.
on it
So-
in the last calendar year.
Okay, so depending on where we go, maybe we'll make a motion to just waive that requirement.
For the,
Foreman with all the inspection reports.
does that put us in any kind of harm's way?
And Ken reminded us that we can grant waivers to the subdivision rules and regs, right?
That's right.
And does this create any precedent that is troubling to us in other cases?
Well, we did do a previous subdivision, and we kind of it was a 10-year-old subdivision, and we kind of struggled with the foreman, and I think we kind of soft-pedaled that, right?
That's right.
In this board is being consistent, but I don't think we should continue to do that, if we can.
If we get a better grappling on the projects and catch them at the
Right.
2-year mark, you
Right.
know, or 1-year
Right.
mark, and say, hey, what's going on? Rather than
Good.
20 years later, or 10 years later, or whatever the case might be.
So I don't know if we make that motion now, or we wait to make a final decision, I'm not sure, or that's part of the final
To waive?
decision. To waive that requirement. Just so it's on the record and it's not,
Is that a motion, Carl?
well, I'm asking when we want to make the motion, if we just do it as part of any final
Well-
denial or
Right
approval, or,
Yeah, I mean, it can be part of this vote, for sure.
Yep.
Is there any other comments, or?
Just one other question. Is there anyone else that we have strictly enforced this on that can claim that they were treated differently?
Enforce what on?
The requirement that,
For four-man.
yes.
No, there's nobody that we've forced it on.
For very old projects.
Okay.
I want to make that distinction. We're not talking about current projects.
Do you have a date in mind? I mean, that's old.
Well, by rights, we shouldn't be having this conversation
Station.
any later than 2
2
years anyway.
years, yes,
Right.
so,
Okay.
right.
If we're
and
staying on top of the projects.
Yeah, but-
that was going to be what was sort of in my mind.
Okay, make it.
I'm always close to Mike.
So I move that we waive the requirement for four-man with all of the inspection reports for the project called Tohono Pond North or Crane Landing due to the extreme age and duration of the project.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Carl Schultz, seconded by Sam Corbett. All those in favor, Sherry?
Aye.
Mike?
I have a hard time agreeing with that
You-
motion. I'm going to abstain.
Oh, you can vote no.
Well, I'll
I
put
mean,
no
you-
in, that's fine.
You're,
You know, I've been here a long time, and the thing is, certain individuals has precedent. They've been catered to better than others, and that's why I gotta say no.
okay. Jane?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah. Carl?
Aye, because I don't see really, I think we're kind of in a bind.
I think this one here, we had, the chair votes aye as well. I think we kind of adopted this, I don't want to call it a mess, because at the end of the day, Phil states for us that his opinion is, everything is the way it
Right.
should be. You know, if it was a subdivision and a road that was an absolute disaster area, then we might be having a different discussion. But where this one was.
And
continued
it's
to-
been there for 20 years, so.
And it's been 20 years,
so-
right?
Okay. Mr. Chair, again, through you to the applicant, I did read your packet. Did you send the certified letter to the clerk?
I did.
Okay, was it in the package?
Yeah, well, I sent the receipt for it because I was
Oh,
afraid it
okay.
wouldn't get here on time.
Right here.
Registered letter.
Thank you.
registered
I
mail.
just.
It's
I
$20
I didn't recognize that.
to go half a mile.
$19.62,
sorry.
by the way.
Boston doing business.
back 106,000.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Context.
Okay, I think those were, I
Those
think
were
were
you.
those the open questions from the last meeting, and I do thank the applicant for the effort they put in. I do think the background and the history we have on the homeowners association is going to be interesting should this come up. You know, with trying to get the town to adopt the road, but
Another night, another meeting?
another night, another meeting. That's not on the agenda anywhere, as far as I know, so.
Not that I'm aware of. Anybody else have any questions, concerns, wants, needs, desires?
Make a motion to release the performance bond for Tyhonet South
North?
and South and Crane Landing.
We have a motion to release the bond. Do we have a second?
Specify the amount as well, too, please.
$106,376.20.
Plus any accrued interest since,
No, that's it.
oh, that is, there's no accrued, okay.
That's the total number? Okay, so do we have a second?
You made the motion? Second.
We have a motion by Sam Corbett, seconded by Carl Schultz. All in favor? Sherry?
Aye.
Mike?
No.
Jane?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Carl?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
We need 4 out of 5, right, to do?
You got 4.
4. I'm just saying, that's what we need, 4 out of 5, right?
I think you just need a
Oh,
majority.
3 of 5, okay.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming, sir. Next up, discussion of possible vote, 69 Great Neck Road, review and determine the status. Do we have somebody here to speak to that?
Good evening, David Andrade.
Thank you for coming, sir. Appreciate you coming. The question I think that I have, I want to start the discussion, is, so I go by the site all the time on my way to the gym, 3 days, 4 days a week, depending on how enthusiastic I am. And the site was dormant for quite a long time, which in itself is not a big deal. You're still within the two-year time limit. All of a sudden, like 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, whatever it might have been, the place just exploded with activity. Trucks bringing in fill, bringing in dirt, paving. So my question is, has there been the inspections that need to be done prior to the pavement put down? Were they done, or were they not? Because I don't have any evidence, to my ability to find any evidence that it was done
By the engineer.
by either an engineer who's willing to put his name to an as-built, or to the town.
There's requirements for the town engineer to submit regular inspection reports
Right.
at various stages.
So
And they need to be notified by the applicant.
right, that you're ready to have such and such inspected prior to filling in. And I did find some notes from Charlie back in December of '22, where he went in and inspected some drainage, and gave you the okay to fill in that. And then there was another comment about, let's see if I can find it. Drainage manholes 2 and 3 in place, pipe on site but not installed, one catch basin in place and piped, one catch basin in place, no pipe. Contractor will call for pits next week, which it looks like you did, December 23rd. 12 leaching pits in place.
23rd from what year?
22.
22.
12 leaching pits in place at the easement midway along the road, but not mortared in. Gave him permission to finish stonework and mortar piping. Agreed that the knockouts do not have to be mortared up due to the thickness of the system not being subject to wheel loads. And then that was it. That was kind of the end of it.
Were they notes or an actual inspection report?
There was no inspection report. These were strictly notes. So I guess the question is, all the work that was done, was there anything that should have been or needs to be inspected that now can't be inspected because the hot top went down?
No, because, well, Charlie did do all the inspections prior to any backfilling, and then the engineer, field engineering, is doing the as-built for the road
But-
and for the drainage.
The applicant says Charlie did the inspections, but we don't have.
We don't have inspections, right? All I have is notes.
Charlie confirmed that he'd done the inspections up to December of '22, but he hadn't done any inspections since that time.
Did he file reports? You have reports?
No, he didn't. He doesn't usually file reports.
Well, how can we then do a Form N, which has all the inspection reports? Which is a requirement.
Right, and there is notes here too. The drainage had not been completed at the entrance. Some structures were in place, but it was not complete. And that was December 30, 2022, or that's when Charlie signed off. The last date he was there was the 23rd. So I think we're kind of running into, honestly, I think we're running into the same trap that we ran into with Bay Point, where the inspections are not being done, regardless of whose fault it is, whether the contractor's not notifying the town engineer, hey, I'm ready, or the town engineer's not going out there to do the report. But at the end of the day, the stuff's not being inspected before it's being covered. And that's not the way it's supposed to work.
But Charlie was informed, every structure that went into the ground, he was informed, he came out and inspected every structure.
Well, I have his notes. I mean, these are from him. These aren't, this isn't blue sky I picked it from. These
I
are-
understand that.
Well, and this is, you just heard me what I read. I mean, There's stuff that, according to him, was not completed, which I'm gonna assume is now completed, because there's hot top on the road. But there's no evidence that anybody's looked at it to confirm that it was done and done correctly.
I don't see how the notes aren't there, because he came out to inspect every aspect of that job.
He retired in the 22.
I'm aware of that.
So,
I'm aware of that.
Mr. Chair, through you.
But everything was done prior to his retirement.
Let's-
Everything was
I'm
already
not
in the
having a
ground.
debate.
That's okay, yeah, we don't wanna debate that right now. We're trying to figure out a better way to go forward, as far as getting things inspected when they're supposed to be inspected, in the manner that they're supposed to be inspected, rather than us having to play catch-up and then make decisions as to whether or not we're gonna forgive something because we don't have documentation that we should have.
So, Mr. Chair, through you to the planning office, procedurally, if we did have an inspection report, and we do have a documented inspection process that Charlie wrote up that we can go back and refer to, would that inspection report have been countersigned by the project engineer?
Not necessarily. The inspections are done on the basis of what's in the ground and the plans, and the engineer, the inspecting engineer, the consulting engineer, looks at the plans and
Bless you.
considers whether it's been installed in place and makes a determination whether or not it's appropriate and accurate to the plans.
Okay, so in the past, when we, again, through you, closed out a subdivision, how did we process the Form N, which required all of those inspection reports? Or have
So
we?
when the reports were there, we took them, but we also took the testimony of the engineer.
Okay. I don't know what to do.
Rather than a written report, it was a verbal report of the engineer.
You know, but verbal reports isn't gonna save us 10 years from now.
Doesn't mean anything.
It gets included in the minutes of the meeting.
That's been going on for 30 years, Carl.
Okay.
So what do we do? Just wait for them to finish and then ask for a stamped as-built, and that's it? We move on? The hell with the reporting?
Since you can't have a report unless you dig up the material that's
Well, like,
been
that's
installed.
the point I'm trying to make. Thank you. That's exactly where I was driving this bus.
And we ran into the same problem with Master Millworks, where they ignored it all and they just went forward, and we ended up
with a mess over there. The difference there, I think,
it's not a public road. It's
right,
their- it's their-
it's not impacting anybody but them. If they shortchanged it and the infrastructure falls apart, nobody gets hurt but them. In cases with the subdivision, when the subdivision's built and the houses are sold and the covenants are released, and 5 years later, there's a huge drainage issue that can be tracked back to something not being built correctly because it wasn't inspected, then what do? Now you have other people's lives that are being impacted. That's the part I have a hard time with.
In the as-built, you have to have it certified then by an engineer to say that it was
And
constructed appropriately.
so now we're in a position where we have to go to what, the engineer?
Well, that's, I guess, where we're gonna be if there's a missing inspection report. And that engineer has to put his or her,
Stamp on it.
License.
And his license on the line, right? The timing sucks, excuse my language, for you, because I think this is, another project has kind of brought this subject to the light of day, and you just happen to be where you are with your project. You fell into the middle of the stink.
No, I understand what you're saying, but from even what you're reading, you're saying about the structures that were inspected. There's only 4 catch basins on the whole job. What you're reading is what he inspected.
It's
It's
not
only
just
4
the
catch
catch-
basins
that's
and the
not
drain
the-
system.
It's not,
those are not just you have to look at the undercoat of the roadway, the road topping, all of that has to be inspected.
I understand that, and the engineer who...
And the utility access and all of that is part of the subdivision.
Absolutely.
right? Can I ask Phil, have you get a chance just to talk to us for a second? Have you had any interaction with this project?
No, Mr. Chair.
So then we can safely assume, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, because that's not what my intent is. So we can safely assume that the drainage not completed at the entrance of the structure when Charlie retired 7 days after his last visit there was never inspected before you put the hot top down. Because Charlie retired, Phil hasn't been out there. So nobody inspected that last piece of drainage that was.
What is the last piece of drainage you're referring to, sir?
The drainage had not been completed at the entrance. Some of the structures were in place, but not complete. That's right.
Those were the first structures that were in the ground, was the catch basins in the front.
You're asking me to take Charlie's word as the gospel for the stuff he said was completed, but now you're telling me I shouldn't listen to him on the stuff he said wasn't completed.
Well, I don't know what he's referring to.
I can only read the words, and I'll be honest with you, I trust, I've only been doing this for 6 years or so, I'm no genius, but I trust everything that Charlie tells me.
I worked with Charlie for
Everything.
40 years ago.
That guy's, he's awesome, and so, go ahead.
I was going to wait. I was just going to say, I recommend that we have these entered into the record of this, all these notes, whatever the source of them was.
Yes, I'll forward them to the planning office so they can be part of the
And
record.
then the applicant would be able to see them as well.
So, all right, so going forward with the discussion. The horse is out of the barn. We can't inspect anything because the hot top's down. So, Phil, based on the last 2 or 3 meetings we've had with issues of this nature, our only path forward is an as-built stamped by an engineer.
Yes, Mr. Chair, but there are even limitations to that, though, with regard to thicknesses of pavement and sidewalk and gravel bases. So if that work was done without inspection, an as-built doesn't provide that level of detail. So the board would need to determine whether you need that information as part of the Form A inspection sheet requirement, and then the applicant would be required to do, in addition to the as-built, enough to certify that the asphalt is the right thickness, the base is the right thickness.
Boreholes, for example.
That's the mill work.
Yeah, boreholes or,
Boreholes, or do dynamic testing. There are methods out there that can do it, just to.
Which would you, in your opinion, which is the least invasive and least costly?
So the least costly is to do what's called a core,
Yep.
which is literally cut a hole in the pavement and take it up and you look at the cross-section. It's invasive. It makes a little bit of a pothole that has to be patched, but it's unequivocal. You take it up and it'll show you right there what's there.
Is it like 4 inches?
Usually it's a square, maybe 4 by 4.
Yeah.
It's fairly minimal, but it is invasive in that it cuts the pavement.
are we looking to close this now, or what's the status of this project?
No, well, the applicant has put in a request to release the,
covenant.
yeah, so we can start selling sites, which,
Okay, well, then we're going to go through all the requirements and final inspection, notification to the clerk, Form N, and even if they can't do a Form N, then we should have a letter saying they can't.
yeah, there's no detail in here whatsoever, other than just the request.
Okay, and we didn't get that, right? You just have it in your,
It was handed to me
yeah, no,
tonight.
I saw that.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Chair, through you to the applicant, you believe then that the project is done?
Well, it's not done. I mean,
Well, how,
I only have binder on the,
well, then why would we release the covenant? Are you going to put a tripartite agreement in place?
I could do whatever. I'm just trying to get building permits started so I can start building on some of the lots.
Okay, well,
So in that case, you should put a surety, a security, a bond in place to cover the costs of the remaining work on the road.
And then we need a schedule, a schedule of values.
Which,
Their engineer prepares.
Yep.
And then
we
Phil
review,
would
or Phil
review
would
or-
review it, yeah.
Right, but it also, it'll create a bit of a disconnect, because their engineer is going to say all this work is done, and without substantiating that it is done in accordance with what it should be, there'll be some friction between that schedule of values, just
Right, which-
looking down the road.
We're familiar with that problem.
But I mean, if that's what he's requesting, is to release lots, I don't see where we have any choice.
Well, we have to go through the process, and then we'll get a report and a recommendation, and
Right.
so then we could either not release the covenant, or we could release the covenant and create an estimate of a schedule of values based on guidance from our engineer, to accommodate having to do discovery. Those are paths forward. I understand the applicant's desire,
Yeah, I mean, if
but
the-
there are things that have to be done.
Mike, I think the precedent was set a long time ago. You're trying to play catch-up now. A good example is Bay Point. We'll pick on them because they're not here. They should, if somebody's gonna be shut down because they didn't do something, they should have been shut down a long time ago. That doesn't happen in this town. 30 years, they've been running the same way. They've been dependent on the engineer's word or whatever. And if you're gonna start new rules and regulations, man, I think you're starting at a bad time.
What do you
No.
suggest, Mike?
Well, I don't consider, I'm sorry, I don't consider what's going on here shutting him down. He could still move forward. All his engineer needs to do is come up with a schedule of values for Phil to review, and for us to accept the claim with an engineer stamped as-built that says, everything that was supposed to be done that wasn't inspected was done. Here's the schedule of values to complete the project. Phil reviews it, says, all right, we tweak it here, tweak it there, depending on the values.
Yeah.
He puts a bond in place and we move forward.
And I will remark that when we put that before an applicant, their engineer refused to sign that letter.
Well, for
For
the other project.
For the other project, and we're not moving forward because their engineer wouldn't certify that the work was done according to the plan.
Right, so, I mean, if you're looking for something that falls under shut down, that really is what's taking place there.
So the other guy's basically shut down right now. That's what you're saying. He can't move forward.
Can't sell those, or he can't get building permits. I understand he can sell the lots, but he can't get building permits.
Right, yeah, he can't move any further past that.
No, I think there should be the same rules for everybody.
Well, we're trying to get there.
Well, isn't that what we're doing, though? If we put that in place for Bay Point,
Yeah.
then do we carry that same message forward? All we need, all we're asking for is that the developers who build projects follow the guidelines that are in place already. We're not making new rules. We're just asking them to follow. And if it says you gotta have the town engineer come out and look at the pipe that you just put in for the drainage before you put the dirt over the pipe, then that's the way it's supposed to work. Whether it's Bay Point or whether it's Mr. Andrade. I mean, I think the size of the project shouldn't have anything to do with it.
I can show, well, there's a few projects out there now that they're trying to get the roads accepted by the town, and the roads are falling apart.
And that's exactly what we're trying to prevent.
That's what we're trying to prevent, exactly. Not in no instance are we insinuating that the road isn't built correctly. What we're being asked is to take it at face value that it is.
But if we now have a history we can show where the way we've done things in the past has resulted in inadequate roads, then we should hold up the mirror and stop doing it that way. I take your word. I know there's a lot of roads that are in bad condition. I don't know what the process was for how they were built or accepted, but I don't want to sign something that is going to have a road that 10 years from now is dangerous or inadequate or causes flooding to the house at the bottom of the hill.
What do you think, Sam?
What do you do?
This isn't a public hearing, so public comment isn't normally allowed. I do have Charlie and Suzanne.
That could be.
That's probably Charlie Rowley.
That's probably Charlie.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, if everybody's okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you hear me, guys?
Good evening, Mr. Rowley, how are you?
I'm well. Listen, I've been listening to a meeting, and I just wanted to clear up a couple of things, if I could.
Sure.
When I mentioned in my notes that the drainage had been not completed, my recollection is that there is a drainage basin at the foot of the road near Great Neck Road. And at the end of my inspections, that had not been completed, nor the ties made into it with the basins that were there at the bottom of the hill. So when I'm saying things were incomplete, they were incomplete from that standpoint. But going forward, Mr. Andre just indicated to you that the only thing that's there in the ground is the binder. So if you're interested in knowing what is there, putting a couple of cores in there, as has been suggested, would not only give you the thickness of the binder, but also if you dig deep enough, it'll give you the thickness of the base that's underneath it. And I would think that it would be a good thing to get at this point, because when you put the top on, ultimately, you won't see those cores.
Right.
So you'll have a smooth surface. And you'll also want to look into the fact that I assume that the water main and everything that was proposed has been installed. You should be looking at getting some sort of an inspection from the water department, or at least a letter saying that it conforms with that. There's some bounding that I never saw, of course, because my inspection stopped at the end of December. So, but I do encourage you to follow through with getting some of the information that you look at, because I think it can be done and completed to your satisfaction without an awful lot of effort on the part of the applicant. And certainly by getting the security in place, then you could release the lots for construction, which is what Mr. Andrade is really looking for.
Perfect. Thank you, Charlie, we appreciate that input. Anybody have a?
But by the way, when you're saying that there were no inspection reports, the way I did things was to describe in each of the bills that were submitted to the planning office, there was always a description of what was done and the dates on which they were done.
I remember that format, but.
Yeah, I
think
agree
in
with you that
this
reports
case-
weren't actually submitted to the planning board, but they did come in the form of the bills with the descriptions for the work that was done under those bills.
Yep.
And before a final inspection was done, it was always my preference to give you an inspection report that said that everything was completed and made reference to the dates when I was there to do certain things.
Yeah, I do remember that format, Charlie, and in this case, we didn't have access to a copy of those bills, so
Right.
it didn't give us any information.
Not to say that it couldn't be made better by having warrants actually submitted to the board as they're done. That would be a way of alleviating some of the question that you have. But you should be getting that information as part of your packets if you want to be assured that they're actually being submitted.
Okay, thank you, Charlie. Anybody have a?
Thank you for the opportunity to provide some info, too. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right,
have a good
thanks, Charlie.
evening.
It's good to hear your voice, buddy.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you, Charlie.
You're welcome.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, that's a good, thank you. Good thought.
Okay, so we're looking at release of covenant with,
Well, oh, go ahead.
I'm just trying to think of how Mr. Andrade could continue forward
Well, I was gonna make,
building.
yeah,
Go ahead.
make a suggestion that, Mr. Cordero, meet with Mr. Andrade or his engineer, review what the inspections, and come up with a plan, much like Charlie said, okay, you haven't got the top coat down, let's do the core borings. We're missing the boundary markers, we're missing the report on the water main. I don't remember, did this have sewage?
I was just gonna ask that question, is that,
No.
so it's private septic?
Yeah, so, but the septic system has to be inspected by someone, right?
There's no septic systems, there's
Right.
no houses at this
To
point.
the house.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense, thank you, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Trying to get to that.
Yeah, oh, good, no, thank you, I'm getting, I'm just trying to, yeah, so that's all, that's building permit beyond our scope.
Right, okay, so, Mr. Andrade, would you be okay with that, setting up a meeting with Mr. Cordero?
Absolutely.
It'd probably be preferable if your engineer could be there, I think that would be helpful.
And a punch list is, we
Right.
did that before for another project.
Yep, yeah, I think if you do something similar to what you did for Bay Point, that'd be perfect. Now we know exactly what we need, so that we can get you building permits and you can continue to
Yeah,
move
and then
forward.
from that, the process would seem to be, you would prepare a schedule of values, which ultimately we'd have to agree to. Then we would release the covenant, put in its place a tripartite agreement, and then you would have to put up a form of surety at the value equivalent to 125% of the schedule of values. That would allow the town to step in should you default for some reason to complete the work.
Okay.
But then, once you get to that, once you have a tripartite agreement, then the lots are, Ken, you just keep me honest if I'm not getting the process perfect, because I keep trying to say it in my head. Then you could sell the lots, and you could get building permits.
It doesn't have to be a tripartite agreement, though.
You can
Oh,
do
there are
it.
other forms of
Bonding,
a
security,
bond, yeah, it could just be a bond, yeah.
Right.
So as long as the bond is in place, then the lots can be made active. He can get building permits and get
That's right.
rolling.
And you release the covenant and you put a bond in place or security of some kind, and then,
Yeah.
then the building permits can be issued for the building lots.
Right. And then if everything goes according to plan, we won't see Mr. Andrade 20 years ago like we did Crane Landing. We'll see you much sooner to release whatever's left over from the bond, if there is
It
anything.
may depend on how fast the lots sell and they're built on as well, too, because that could take some time.
Yeah,
And until he gets all those lots built, he doesn't want to put the top coat on.
Right, which is why we were doing the previous, well, they did the top coat, but they didn't do.
yeah.
The
Took them
final-
20 years to put the top coat on.
Well, they had a top coat, but they put another,
Okay.
I think there's a path forward for you,
Yeah.
but we just have to tick all the boxes.
And I think we can do it expeditiously. I know we've got some busy meetings coming up, but if you can work together with Phil and your engineer and get that put together, we'll get you in so that we don't delay you.
Okay.
So that we can, keep you moving forward.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, one more, I remember when we reviewed your subdivision, but I don't remember, your plan is to deed the, are you gonna retain ownership of the road, or are you gonna deed it to the,
To the town.
no, that can't be an assumption.
No, it'll have to be part of a homeowners association until such time that the town may or may not adopt it. Because right now, the town's not adopting roads,
That's fine.
so.
Okay, just, we don't want that to become another problem, because we'll
Okay.
run into that. The town is not accepting roads, as far as I know. But that'll all have to be part of the final process before we can release the covenant, or the bond.
Okay.
Okay. If that's it, then I think we're all set.
Very good. Thank you.
We'll see you.
Thank you for coming. It makes
Thank
it
you.
much easier when you're here.
Yeah, there's no way we would've got past this without you.
No, I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
take note of the time.
7 o'clock.
I said what I said.
Are there any staff reports?
That's what I'm heading for now.
Reports from the chair?
I have nothing to report. There is no, all we need now is member comments. If anybody has something.
Ken, are you retiring anytime soon?
That's
Yeah, I
it.
am retiring sometime soon.
And
January?
that would be,
Not necessarily, I'm gonna give it 2 months.
Couple of months?
are we,
Yeah, at least 8 weeks.
It's your choice, I'm just curious. I hear rumors all over the place. I like to go to the person to find out if it's true or not, rather than run the rumor. So thank you very much for that, appreciate it.
okay, now I'm gonna be even more invasive. Sam was dancing around, now I'm just gonna come out and ask the question.
You can't victimize one person.
Are we going to, or is there any plans to identify and/or,
Train somebody.
well, I didn't want to use the word train, because if they're a planner, they know, but
On board.
on board, thank you. On board, whoever it is that's going to take your office.
Yeah, I've actually been doing some headhunting as well, as a matter of fact, reaching out to the other planners I know and seeing who's interested in filling in the position.
Okay. So, once that planner is identified, the contract is drawn and agreed on, we're all happy, holding hands,
Could you keep us informed, Ken?
yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we'd like to avoid kind of the misstep that we had when Charlie retired. I mean, we missed a golden opportunity to get someone comfortable with the process. And even though Phil, came around 180 degrees from the jump off from where we were, if we can just avoid that and have someone familiar with the office, familiar with Sonia, who to go talk to, who not to go talk to.
Right,
You're working with Derek?
yes, I am.
Excellent.
Okay?
That's it for me.
Anything
Motion
else?
to adjourn?
Second.
Wow, that was fast. We have a motion by Mike Baptiste, seconded by Sam Corbett. All in favor? Sherry?
Aye.
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Carl? And I vote aye. Mike, you hesitated a little bit. I almost thought you wanted to stay.